This is Main Street with Gary Allen. Now, here's Gary.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Main Street. Gary Allen with you here, as I am every week. Hope you've had a wonderful time since the last time we saw each other. I'm really looking forward to today's program. I hope everybody's had a wonderful time. And we've got a great show for you today. It's all about sports, the NFL draft, Major League Baseball, what happened with the Boston Red Sox, what's going on with some of the players in the draft, as well as some of the other things that have been going around in sports. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the one and only, my brother from another mother and one of my dearest friends in the whole world, Mr. Dave LaMont.
Hello there, everybody. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I can't see myself, but here I am.
Well, trust me, it's probably for the best. Tommy knows what he's doing.
Yes, he does. What have you been doing since we saw you last?
A little bit of work, a lot of sitting, and just getting ready for what will be a fairly busy summer for me with the PBA 50 tour on Bowl TV. Cool. And just watching lately a lot of playoff NBA and NHL and, of course, the draft.
Yes, we're going to talk about the NBA, too. I forgot to include that at the top of the show, very much so. But I want to talk about something you and I talked about 2-3 days ago, I guess, Friday or Thursday. This Rossini and Vrabel situation that has occurred. Now, I know it's about 3 weeks old at this particular point, or 2 weeks old, but I am so angry at the overall hypocrisy of it, Dave, and you and I discussed it. Yes, the old boy network working to protect the head coach as they would protect players and everything else. But I don't know Diana Rossini. I don't think you do either. I think you expressed that the other day. I know someone that kind of knew her at ESPN. They said she was always on top of her game, and she appeared to be, to me, always on top of her game. She knew what she was talking about. She apparently could call somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning, no matter who it was, and get them on the phone and talk whatever she wanted to do. I know she had recently, 4 or 5 years ago, got married. But the hypocrisy comes from she had to resign her job at the Atlantic as the head sports writer, and he gets to keep his job as the head coach. And the league says, oh, it's not a league issue. It's a team issue. Great. Coming from a team where the owner was caught, 3-4 years ago, going to certain massage parlors in West Palm Beach. And they sort of overlooked that a little bit. I think maybe they fined him and that was about it. If they went that far, I can't remember, Dave. But I just
it was a happy ending for everybody, though.
He's appearing all this week, folks. Try the meatloaf special. It's fit for a king. I just find it hypocrisy that
Diana what's the hypocrisy part?
The part is that she had to lose her job. She had to resign, and probably it's going to be a while before somebody will give her an opportunity to get back doing what she's doing. Now, maybe not. Maybe somebody will hire her tomorrow morning. I don't know.
I doubt it. That part I'll interrupt you on, right? I doubt it. I think and I understand what you're saying, and there are some good examples, but I think credibility is her biggest selling card, and that's been tainted. And the rest of it, is seedy and unnecessary and prurient and appeals to that side of people that we do love gossip. But I think professionally speaking, and now listen, I've heard Stu Gotts, John Wiener, who was a former neighbor of mine and he used to work with Dan Lebitard, has his own show, said he would hire her. So maybe that will happen. But you remember, I think this goes back to Watergate.
Oh, yeah.
For the cover up is worse than the crime.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
So
every time, Dave, every time.
Pretty much. I mean, unless the crime is, murder or something like that. This is obviously not technically a crime other than a moral one. But then again, on the other hand, you don't exactly go running to the nearest TV camera and goes, by the way, there's a pretty good chance that I have been, you don't do that either. So I understand why you try to cover it up. But when you get caught, you've got to do a better job on both parties' part to address it a little bit more quickly and definitely more honestly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know the subterfuge that went on prior to them finally admitting what was going on. I didn't catch up to that. As a matter of fact, I had to call you, and you were out of town to find out what is going on with this because I had no clue. I wasn't particularly paying much attention to it. I was watching baseball and other things at the time, and you had to explain to me exactly what went on. And I know he apologized to his wife and he apologized to the team, but a one draft day suspension, day 3, which, okay.
No, he's already back
And
in the building. He was back in
yeah,
the building today.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and and the mere fact that she had to resign, which within itself, maybe that's fair. You and I discussed this, that, it's the old boy network covering up the old boy network. It's been going on since Babe Ruth, as you and I both talked about the other day,
Well,
and
here's the
always will.
thing, Gary, to that point, we don't really have a comparable situation that I can think of in professional sports with, let's say, a female head coach and a male
Mm,
reporter. I
true.
couldn't begin to think of one. So it's that may be part of it. There's no precedent for it. And listen, people do these kind of things all the time. And this ends up kind of taking over the country, at least the sports fans of the country for a while, and probably caught the eye of a few other sports people who weren't sports fans because of
Right.
the moral nature of the whole thing. There have been other coaches who have been caught and have lost their jobs. Sharon Moore at Michigan, of course, he did do something, I believe it was criminal. Mel Tucker
Yeah.
at Michigan State was caught on a
Yeah.
phone call. And these guys did end up losing their gigs. Vrabel doesn't appear to be likely to do that. Now, do you fire somebody only because they had an affair? Is that a fireable offense? It's not illegal. It is
No.
immoral,
Yeah.
but it isn't illegal. And as far as we know, these guys haven't broken any laws. Her
Yeah.
position was as of somebody whose life is credibility as a journalist covering the sport. If you are indeed doing this kind of thing in your sport, that's bad. And if there's evidence and and here, I'll give you another angle of this. I don't know if you saw this. I saw this yesterday, and I don't know how credible this is, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Somebody wrote
Okay.
an article, I think it was on the website awfulannouncing.com, that there's the possibility. It turns out these photos were not taken by a PI, but may have been taken by Johnny Q. Public.
Really?
And if that's the case, that person may have violated the laws of the resort about using photography in social media situations without consent. And it's
Mhm.
possible, I don't think they're going to do this. They could sue. They could sue the resort.
Yeah.
There's other situations where because, and this is something that's I think we're going to see more often from time to time. And I see this sometimes on social media, is that, let's say, people take video of strangers without their consent, or take photos of strangers without their consent, and then just throw them out there and put them on their social media pages.
Right.
Um, that's slippery to do that kind of thing.
It's
And
sleazy, it's slippery, it's like what
well, it
happened
may,
to
may
it.
be perfectly innocent too, by the way. It might just
Yeah.
be, it may not be used for, again, the prurient interests, but it's still, I wouldn't like it. If somebody did that to me, if I was just standing there, well, maybe not. I guess I'm kind of a minor version of a public figure, but still, I mean, that's a bizarre angle that nothing may ever come of that. So I don't think they're going to fire him, because they did everything, including basically breaking the Rooney Rule, to hire him,
Yeah.
and they're going to be a scrutinized franchise. The story isn't going to go away, and it's going to be revived every time there's a NFL news cycle. Training camp, it's going to come back. It's going to come back at the beginning of the season. If they have
Right.
a great season, maybe it will go away. But if they have a bad season, if they drop off from AFC champs, and by the way, that's an easy cliff to drop off of, then
Sure.
well, this is only because he's distracted. It's a bad situation. I will agree.
Yeah. The
Obviously.
the 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 other hypocrisy of it, that is the other end of it, again, goes back to he got a one-game suspension for the day 3 of the draft. All I'm saying is fine him 25,000, 30,000.
Well, who's finding him? The
Suspend
Patriots, not the
the
NFL, because
Patriot.
Goodell
No,
says that the NFL is not going to do anything.
no, it's a team issue. I watched that interview with Goldberg, on
Okay.
ESPN. Um, he he should be suspended, maybe for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, okay? Fined, and at least give it some credibility on both sides of the fence. She loses her job, and I'm sure she was making a very pretty penny, okay? And, I mean, I wouldn't have no clue
Working
what
for
she
the New
makes
York
at the Atlantic.
Times. Yeah, she was working for the New York Times, so she owns The Athletic, so probably doing okay.
Yeah, she's eating even now. But, this is not like an Aaron Andrews kind of a thing where she was caught in a hotel room, and she raised a
Well, that's
stink.
not even close to being the same thing. No.
No, but the bottom line is suspend him, fine him, make it like you don't do this again, guys. Be careful. And here's the other part about this too that I thought about this after you and I talked the other day. You got to be careful no matter who you are, because everybody now has that camera and they're a broadcast. They got a camera.
Well,
They'll
there's
take
all of
anything they
that,
want.
yeah, and anything that comes from your past can be used against you. We've learned this, I don't know if it's gotten any better, but there were people who lost opportunities over things they said on Twitter 12 or 13 years ago.
Yeah,
Things that happen and that people do digging and you think, well, I don't know if that's a good idea either because people do evolve and they can change their opinions over time. But yeah, things like
yeah,
that have happened, and it's bad judgment, obviously, and
yeah,
these are high profile people. They weren't careful, and sometimes the hubris takes over, and you think, well, I'm not going to get caught, and
yeah.
that's always the biggest mistake you can make. But I, I think of the other part of it that we haven't mentioned yet, and we probably should before we get out of this, is that
Uh-huh.
the impact on the other people in their lives, their friends and their families. Vrabel being married with kids. She married, as far as I know, still. I don't
Yeah,
believe she may have children. I don't know. As I said, I don't know her. But the fact that these people have to live with this,
yeah,
as what is also something, the collateral damage of that. Now, no one is speaking publicly, nor should they, about this in these relationships. But
yeah.
yeah, there's the other parts of all of this. So there's a great deal of embarrassment, and should be in some ways for the people who were involved. There should be embarrassment, but
Well, your
yeah,
dog agrees with
the
you.
collateral damage is also disturbing.
Your dog agrees with you. That's for sure.
Always does.
All right, let's move on here a little bit. A shocking event occurred over the weekend with the Boston Red Sox. It's not that a manager has never been let go in the early part of the season. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen very often, but it does happen. It's not just that. It's just that the entire coaching staff, along with Veritek is literally a Boston legend. And the Boston management just said, okay, out you go. We're going to blame you instead of getting players in here. And Alex Cora, who, went to our school, um, he has a great relationship with Dave Dombrowski. If the Phillies keep going the way they are, does he bring Alex in to manage the
That's a good
Phillies?
question. I just saw somebody is still mad because Alex Cora was with the Astros when they were caught banging trash cans, and he was part of that, and he did pay for that. And obviously the Red Sox thought it was okay. He's won a World Series as a manager. What's really interesting, Gary, fallback from this is really brutal in Boston right now. Probably the easiest job in the country is being a Boston radio host, because all you have to do is you could show up 1 minute before your air shift, getting your coffee is still hot, and you turn the mic on, and you've got 20 people waiting in line on your phones because the Red Sox fans are angry. The players are angry.
Yep.
The ownership is John Henry. Now, we know John Henry. He owned the Marlins for a little while. He
Oh,
has
yeah.
had success as a baseball owner. He has
Yeah.
won championships as a baseball owner, but either he or his management team didn't read the room right is the only thing I can think of it. Now, look, yeah, the Red Sox aren't very good this year. Well, a lot of teams aren't very good this year. You mentioned the Phillies. I'm an Orioles fan. The Orioles are sub-5. In fact, the day that Cora gets fired, they beat the Orioles by 16 runs in the
Yeah.
second game of the 3-game series, which they won yesterday to win the series. Yeah, I don't think there's more to behind this. I don't think we're going to hear, well, there was other things going on you don't know about. You're not even hearing those stories. It's
No,
just
no.
somebody, whether it's personal and not business, to borrow from The Godfather, or if they thought it was good business, it is not good business. And that is, as you well know, and I think our audience well knows, probably one of the 5 most passionate and somewhat obnoxious fan bases in Major League Baseball in Boston and that
Yes.
whole New England area, counting
Yeah.
Connecticut and Rhode Island and so forth. The Red Sox are really what I would call a national team. like the Yankees are, the Cubs, the Dodgers, teams that have
Yep.
national followings, not just regional followings.
Yep.
And it's a big screw up,
Oh, yeah.
apparently.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. Dave LaMont, Gary Allen with you here on Main Street. Um, you know, uh, the whole point of this is, again, it's not unusual. It doesn't happen a lot that the manager gets let go at the beginning of the season like this. Okay.
Mhm.
But the whole coaching staff and Jason Varitek,
Yeah,
come
Veritek has been
on.
reassigned, Gary, is what
Mm,
I read. That I
yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what that means. That just means obviously they owe these guys money, so he's still getting paid. But
Yeah.
Veritek, you're right, absolutely beloved in that area, and for good reason. Tremendous player, and baseball. I don't know if you agree with me on this or not. I think baseball fans hang on to their heroes maybe longer than any other sport. Now, it could be there, I'm sure there's examples in other sports, but to me, it seems
Yeah.
like baseball. Once you establish yourself and you're there for a long time, like he was, and you're great, like he was, fans will never forget
Uh,
you, and they will love
Oh,
you
no.
forever.
Oh, no.
So,
I mean, football teams. Yeah. I mean, if you, when you, and I can only relate this to what I know. I mean, you go to Green Bay, you go to Baltimore where the Colts were, and you're Johnny Unitas before he died, and you're standing on the sidelines of a Ravens game. He gets a standing ovation. Raymond Berry or any of them, or you go to Los Angeles with Rosie Greer or some of the other guys, Green Bay Packers with Jerry Kramer or the late Bart Starr, who I really liked. I got to meet him once. Um, and I mean, yeah, I mean, every sport has theirs. I mean, for me, with the NBA, being a Boston Celtic fan, Larry Bird. Are you kidding me? But I go back even further. But yeah, you're right. There's something about baseball fans; they hold on to it, particularly in Philadelphia, which, I mean, they boo, they'll boo you no matter what. You can go 4 home runs in one game. The next day you're 1 for 3 and they're booing you. But I mean,
well,
yes, I think.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Gary. What's interesting
No
about this
problem.
is we were just talking the other day. We were about things to talk about. I said, "There's really nothing going on in baseball in the
Mhm.
first month of the season that jumps out." And yet, then suddenly this story gets dumped in our laps, but we'll see. You know what? They're 1-0 since it happened.
Yeah,
And this may end up working out, but there's going to be such incredible skepticism toward that franchise. The only other big thing in baseball that was worth even mentioning in the first month is the ABS, the automatic ball strike thing,
yeah,
the challenge system, which has been a success in my view. And I just got some stats on that today. On it, I love the idea because 50, it's only worked. Now, let me rephrase that. It's only been overturned a little more than 50% of the time. I think it's 53% of the time that a
yeah,
call has been reversed. It's done quickly. It's not
yeah,
like a football game or sometimes a basketball game where going to the monitor means, holy crap, how long is this going to take?
yeah,
Just last night in the NHL, they had a holy crap, how long is this going to take? Game deciding goal in overtime decided by replay. And it took them forever, and they ultimately held up the call on the ice. This is done quickly. It's a tap of the helmet or a tap of it's usually a tap of the helmet, either the catcher or the batter. And then we go to the replay, boom, in or out. It's like tennis. Tennis
yeah,
has the best. It's either out or it's in. There's nothing else to worry about. And it's
yeah.
done literally in seconds.
I think it's got a lot of pitchers though looking at themselves that ordinarily maybe they would get the strike that now is not getting the strike because of a hair here or an inch there or an inch over here or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
That may be a bit of a frustration that's going on with some of the pitchers that are happening. But no, there wasn't much to talk about except for the Phillies and the Mets are in the bottom of the barrel, and they have the highest
Well, the
payrolls.
Mets, yeah. I think people just enjoy teams with high payrolls that are losing, and since the Dodgers aren't helping people in that regard, they
No,
have to go to the Mets. And the Mets were incompetent last year, and everybody thought, well, okay, that happens. We're done. We're moving on. We're winning. No, we're not winning.
no, no. And the thing is, the Phillies have a high payroll too. You know that very
Hmm.
much so. But you know what? Here's the interesting part about this. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday because I was watching the NBA games as I was, and we were talking about the Marlins. You know, And this goes back to the NFL draft that we're going to tackle here in just a little bit about the Miami Dolphins. Um, I don't know what is going through the owner of the Marlins. Is it David Ross owns the Marlins too?
No, no,
Okay.
no.
They just can't seem to get out of their
You
own way.
Stephen Ross is who you're thinking of,
Or
and no,
Stephen Ross. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Stephen Ross. He doesn't own the Marlins. He has nothing to do with them. He's
none. His empire is that stadium and the tennis tournament and the Formula One race and everything that goes on there. The World
okay.
Cup that's coming
Hmm.
here to be played there. Some of the games there. So no, he's hands off. This is a different group
Well,
altogether.
here's the Marlins. They've been a franchise, and you and I remember very well when Huizinga owned them. They won 2 World Series, and then they disbanded the next year after, and Dave Dombrowski was there for both of those situations, I believe. I know he's there for one, he may not have been there for both. But here's my question, has nothing to do with the Marlins right now. I just brought that up to set this up. Does Dombrowski let Topper go and bring Alex Cora in? Does he bring Alex Cora in as a special assistant coach? Because I watched the Phillies the last 4 or 5 games. It's the pitching and the hitting. They're just not there. They're dead. The wood is dead. And I can't blame Topper for it at all. That's Rob Thompson, folks, the manager of the Phillies. He's a
Right.
baseball man who came from the New York Yankees, and I think the world of him. But does he bring in Alex Cora? Does he wait a little bit longer? I mean, you know, they're hitting to a certain extent, but not hitting enough when they need the runs to win the game. They go dead, and they were dead for a couple of weeks now. And they're every once in a while they put together 4 or 5 runs, and then next 3 games they do nothing. What
Well,
do you think?
I wasn't prepared for Phillies talk today, to be
We're
honest
not.
with you.
Mm.
So I will tell you the division blows other than Atlanta. And
Yeah,
the
yeah,
issue there is do the other teams, including the Marlins, can they make any kind of a run, or are the Braves going to build up just enough of a lead that it's going to be almost impossible to blow that lead? But that's your headache, man. I got my own problems with the Orioles and their lack of everything at the moment. So,
yeah, yeah,
it's just it stinks when you get off to a bad start because you realize you got 162 games of this, and
yes,
you're hoping that but there may not be an immediate player. There's not a guy who's going to come down from the sky. There's not an injury. There's not anything. Sometimes you just go through slumps. I think the thing that we notice more is because the season starts that way, you're paying more attention. Now there's lots going on with the
yeah.
distraction going from all the way to the Masters to the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs for the hardcore hockey fan, the NFL draft, although that's over now. So yeah, it's probably a good time to not be good in the national picture. That's soon going to wear off once we get out of the next few days.
Absolutely. All right, let's,
It'll be
switch
okay,
gears.
Gary. It's going to be okay, man. Hang in there.
Yeah, well, it's been one of those kind of days, at least the last couple hours for me anyway. Before we get into the NFL draft, we talk about the fact that 13 players from the University of Miami, our alma mater, um, either got selected or were signed as undrafted free agents, which is pretty cool. And we will get to some of the question marks that we have about some of the draft picks. The NBA.
Mhm.
I got to tell you something, man. Uh, I was really surprised with the Lakers last night. I thought for sure they were gonna close the door, take the
I would
sweep,
have
and
thought,
go
yeah,
home.
yeah, especially without Durant again, and that whole relationship might be falling apart. I don't know whether they just got cocky. Sometimes you let
Yeah,
down when you have this kind of an advantage. Not everybody. Watched the Colorado Avalanche eliminate the LA Kings in 4 straight last night. They didn't let down, and that 4th game was in LA.
yeah,
But yeah, I was surprised at that too. That the Lakers are going to win that series, so I think
yes,
we can all agree with that. There's no way I don't think any NBA team has ever gotten out of a 3-0 hole. So we've seen 3 threes, but not 3-0.
no,
So it might have just been a bad night. And sometimes you have these things, and you know what, Gary? If the Lakers win Game 5, we'll forget about Game 4 like that.
oh, exactly, exactly, and, the surprise, though, has got to be Orlando and Detroit.
Big game tonight. This is, I watched Game 1. And actually, my son and I were sitting in a sports bar in town during Game 1, and we just kept waiting for Detroit to come back in Detroit, home game, number 1
Mhm.
seed. They would get within 5. All of a sudden, you take 3 bites of your sandwich, and you're up back to 11 again. And Orlando deflated them. Then the Pistons come back, and you think, okay, we're good. No, you're not good. The
No.
Magic have stood up to them, and maybe they're going to do the kind of thing that the Heat did that one year when they ran from the 8 position.
Yes.
I mean, Orlando was really close to not even getting out of the play-in. They lost their first play-in game. They bounced back. They
Yeah.
embarrassed the Charlotte Hornets to get into the top 8, and suddenly are embarrassing the Detroit Pistons. So you're right. It is the biggest shocker by far of this first round.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was I wasn't sure where Orlando was because I've been sort of semi
It's
paying
in Central
attention.
Florida. It's
No, I know.
it's not it's like it's if Orlando's here, Tampa's over here, and
Okay.
we're down south of there.
As a part-time job, Dave does work for AAA. At any particular rate, I was really surprised. And then I thought, well, let me take a look at the box score here. So I went online, I looked at the box score, and I went, okay, all right. And then I thought, well, maybe they're just manning up against Detroit. Maybe Detroit took Orlando lightly. Maybe
They don't
Orlando real
now.
no, but
Detroit's been
anything can happen.
sloppy. I was going to say, I'm sorry. Detroit's been sloppy with the ball in the games they lost. In the first game, in the opening minutes of that game, they
Yeah,
were very sloppy, and Orlando made them pay. And as a matter of fact, in game 2 was the first time early in game 2, I forgot who the announcer was, said, hey, guess what? This is the first time the Pistons have had a lead. They never had a lead in game 1 at home.
yeah.
So they cruised game 2, and it seemed like everything was okay, but they went back to being sloppy again. The problem is now, is Cade Cunningham enough? Somebody else is going to have to emerge from that bunch, and that's been the other problem. So you have that classic choice of, okay, do we let Cade Cunningham eat and get his 35 and clamp everybody else down because we don't think they're good enough? Or do we make life miserable for Cade Cunningham and force the other guys to step up and take control? I felt like they've been forcing the action, and they don't look like they're a relaxed team at all.
I want to skip over my team, the Celtics, because I think that's pretty inevitable. That even with Embiid back,
He
they're
didn't
just
help in the
gonna.
last game.
No, he really he was about the only thing they had. I mean, that was pretty much about it. I want to talk about this Minnesota Denver series only because I was watching a basketball game, and at the end, a boxing match
No, there was no
turned
punches
up.
thrown, and nobody got suspended. They just got fined. I look, Jokic is frustrated. He's not playing at his level. I think when he's at his best, he's the best player in the league, but he's shooting very poorly. I think 39%. Nobody else is stepping up. And again, it's the kind of situation, a little bit of what Detroit's going through, although Cunningham has played pretty well. But Jokic is
Yeah.
just off. They're making his life miserable, and that's because Rudy Gobert has played great basketball for Minnesota. Their problem now is they no longer have a starting backcourt. They've lost Anthony Edwards. They've lost
Yes.
DiVincenzo. They are now in this weird position of, well, all we got to do is get lucky once. And they're back in Denver, then they go to Minnesota. And they're figuring maybe Denver's just bad right now, and nobody else is playing good, and Joker's way off. So we're going to be okay, but then we're going to have a problem in the next series, which I think would be the Lakers. Um,
Uh, yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
the
believe
Lakers
so.
look
Yeah.
pretty good right now, honestly. So, but Minnesota long term is probably dead in the water, but right now Denver looks dead in the water. And so I think Jokic at the end, I don't agree with that whole thing. Was it a cheap layup? Yeah, it's kind of a cheap layup.
Yeah, I
But I was
mean,
watching,
you're
yeah,
up. You don't have to, you don't have to rub it in like that. I mean, there's a guy on my team Pritchard, who puts up 3-pointers like you and I having a, cereal in the
they
morning
all
for
do,
breakfast.
Gary. They all do. They're the
Well, I
biggest
know,
volume shooting team in the league.
but Pritchard is just unbelievable. I mean, you watch him and you watch him go. The Knicks, Minnesota reminds me a lot of the Knicks.
How
Always
so?
a great promise, always good athletes, always heading in the right direction, always looking like, yeah, maybe this is our year. And somehow it just isn't.
Well, they're not exactly dead. They're 2-2.
Mhm.
So, and they get game 5 tomorrow at home.
Yes.
And I think I'm actually more interested in giving Atlanta the credit than cutting down the Knicks. I think a lot of people thought the same thing was going to happen with the some of these, like the Magic Pistons series. You've got a feisty Atlanta team that hasn't backed down on the face of the Knicks. The Knicks, it's Jalen Brunson or nothing for them right now.
Oh, yeah.
Not entirely, but he obviously is driving the
He's the
bus.
key. He's the key.
And right, so I think Atlanta is the story there more than it would be the Knicks, because this
Yes.
is also a little bit of a surprise. I mean, Toronto and Cleveland being 2-2, that's a 4-5 series, so I get
Yeah.
that. That series was pretty hard to break up. But no, I love what Atlanta's doing. They have been mentally tough. By the way, the Lakers Rockets, we were wrong. They get either Oklahoma City or Phoenix. Oklahoma
Oh.
City is going to finish Phoenix off. The Nuggets will take on, if they survive, will take on either San Antonio, which is going to be a load of problems,
Oh,
or
m
Portland.
I'll tell you what, San Antonio, I watched them. Wamby, I mean, he is just unbelievable, man. He takes me back, and I know it probably does for you too, of the general and
Bob
you
Knight,
got
or the guy who sells auto insurance.
no, 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 no. The admiral, rather, excuse me, not the general, the
Oh
admiral.
yeah, you got the wrong division. Well, he's a different player entirely.
No, but I mean, it
Because
reminds me of the prowess that he has on the court at such a young age, and the maturity for all those years that he played in Europe, the maturity that he brings to San Antonio, and they've embraced him in that town. I mean, he is beloved. He'll never have
well,
to buy dinner anywhere.
that's a hugely he should, because that's a hugely passionate fan base, going all the way back to their days in the ABA. And so they had all the glory with the Robinson and then Duncan and
Yep.
Ginobili and Parker and those guys in the championships, and they were so good, and then all of a sudden they dropped, and they're going to be good again. Then Popovich has to drop out because his health has gone south, and they
Yeah.
bounced back very nicely. They got the break on the pick. They got this generational talent. I saw him his rookie year in person in DC. Just very lucky that he was playing that night, because they were holding him back a lot that year. And even though he was still very raw, man, you could already kind of see the skills, and it's just a matter of building his body up as much as you can
Yeah.
and getting him healthy as much as you can. But he's a pretty good 3-point shooter. He's a good ball handler. He's a good passer, and he can alter an entire offense from the other team with his length. So that, Portland is there's they're okay. They've got some good players, but
But they're not.
that's
Yeah.
all the Spurs. All the Spurs.
Yeah.
That
He's
that's a team that could end up knocking out the Thunder.
Yeah. He's got a 747 wingspan. He does.
Yeah.
He's got
No, you're
long
right.
arms, he's good, he's agile, he's willing. He's also a nice guy, and he's willing to learn and everything. And I remember when I was in basic training in the Air Force, they took us to see a San Antonio game. It was the beginning of the season, because I was
Mhm.
there in the fall when I went to basic training. And yeah, that town really loves the San Antonio Spurs. I
Yeah,
mean, and
100%. It's
and
all they have, really. I mean, they don't have
yeah,
another major professional sport, and yes, they have college football there. UTSA is actually a decent college football program for its size,
yeah,
but still, I'm sure they argue over whether it's the Cowboys or the Texans or whomever in
yeah.
college sports. There's a lot to choose from there, except
When I
they're
yeah.
united about the Spurs.
When I was doing arena football, when I was a sideline reporter years ago, San Antonio had an arena football league team, and I remember it was me, Brian Baldinger, and I can't remember who the other who the play-by-play guy was, but Baldinger was the analyst.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's Brian and I worked a lot together back then. But yeah, it's a great city. I mean, I
Hmm.
was only there once for basic training, and then once the basic training was over, I went off to flight school, and that was another story altogether. But it is a great town. There's a lot of great cities that have basketball teams, and there are other cities like in football, baseball that shouldn't have teams. They don't take care of them. They don't give anything to the fans. I say that all the time, and people yell and scream at me. It's like the Miami Dolphins, 27 years of ineptness. Ineptness. I know it's a new regime this year, more or less, in the
Yeah.
coaching staff, but 27 years of total ineptness. I mean, come on. I mean, it probably started back when,
Well, 27? There were some
yeah.
they did. It's been a long time since they won a playoff game. I think 2000 was the last time they won a playoff game. So they have been in the playoffs.
Oh,
They have
but they didn't
not.
go anywhere.
I understand. That's why I said it's been 26 years since they won a playoff game. Um, and once again, the Dolphins are in that. Well, everything's fresh. Well, we had, the problem is everything was fresh 4 or 5 years ago, and that didn't
Yeah.
work out. Perhaps it will this time. And at least one thing they did do,
Mm.
you didn't have a moment in the draft where they weren't picking somebody. They had, I think, 13 picks.
Mhm.
So, and they've established a kind of a template by drafting a lot of people, for the most part, of size, including their first pick, this massive man in Caden Proctor at the tackle position.
Isn't he out of
And
Texas Tech?
Alabama, sir.
Oh, he's out of Alabama. Ooh.
Yeah, they took 2 Texas players back to back, and the one I think is a very good player, Jacob Rodriguez. We talk about, do you do measurables or do you do productivity? I'm a productivity guy, and he was one of the best tacklers in the country and won the Butkus Award, which I vote on for best
Yeah.
linebacker. I think I did vote for him, as a matter of fact, in the number
Yeah.
one position. The receiver was a reach, and Caleb Douglas, to be honest with you, by everything I've read about him, was like, you could have gotten him if you really wanted another receiver at that point. There were plenty of others to choose from. But the beauty of this is we really don't know what we're talking about ultimately, because
No.
Pat Mahomes got the Kansas City Chiefs a C- rating. So, that's all this genius stuff that we spend all of our time on. And I'm not going to downgrade the people who put the effort into draft prep, because there's a lot of effort and a lot of people you have to know. But
Yeah.
you're not always right. And so we've missed left and right about either top picks that don't pan out, or a 4th-round guy, or, the ultimate example is always going to be Tom Brady, a 6th-round pick out of, when he was drafted by the Patriots.
Yep.
And so I know you wanted to go off on the Dolphins, so I will step aside and allow you
No,
that
no, no.
opportunity.
I want to mention something real quick beforehand. You talked about Tom Brady in the sixth round, I believe you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the opposite of that. My buffoon team picks Richardson in the first pick a couple of years ago, and now they can't even give him away to anybody because everybody realizes he's no good. He
Well, you're talking about
stinks.
Anthony Richardson, and
Yeah,
your
Anthony
team,
Richardson.
you're the only person in the United States who became an Indianapolis fan after being a Baltimore fan. And if I tell one of my dearest friends, he's going to look you up, and he's
I
going
hope so.
to cut every wire to your home, and then I don't know what's going to happen after that, but you're not going to like it.
Well, there's no story behind it because, like you, even when the Colts were really bad when they first moved to Indianapolis back in 83, 84, etc., when they first moved there, I switched my allegiance back to Washington because Mike spent his last couple of years with Washington. And so I was a Redskin fan for a long time. I don't know. Speaking of which, how do you feel about that new logo for them with the W with the arrow going through it?
Well, the arrow's mildly controversial to some people, because there's still a portion of fans who want the old name back, and now you bring the spear back. Well, the spear was on a helmet when I was a child.
Yes.
And so it's interesting. I don't know if they're trying to keep that part of the fan base quiet, while still trying to work on this newish identity, which they say they're going to maintain. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was okay. It was okay. I'm more concerned that the linebacker they drafted in the first round pans out. By all accounts, he will.
Yeah.
But that's totally the hard part about all of this. We don't know about, is Mendoza going to be okay in Vegas? Is he going to start right away? Is Kirk Cousins going to step in? I don't know. They have a lot of issues in Las Vegas to work out. That's going to be probably the biggest one. But there's the old argument: do you throw a guy out there who doesn't have the pro experience, but good God almighty, we drafted him first. We got to find out if he can play. That's what
Yeah.
Peyton Manning went through, speaking of Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They threw him out there, and, he paid the price early, but they got the last laugh in the end. Or do you kind of cover him up and it wasn't so much Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay because Favre was established, but does he sit for a while and then, okay, let's go? Yeah, it's impossible. I mean, in Atlanta, they did it with Michael Penix
Yeah.
because they kind of had to. Cousins was just awful, and so they threw Penix out there. There's other situations where a young guy, New Orleans, Tyler Shaw, these guys
Yeah.
have to play, and we'll find out what they do with Mendoza. It's going to be interesting. New coaching staff, the whole thing there, everything is new there. I think that's a town that's looking. While there's a lot of things to do there, I still think that they have
Yeah.
not quite captured the city, and this is their chance.
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I lived there for 10 years, maybe a little bit longer. It's still a gambling city. Yeah, people will like the Raiders if the Raiders get to be competitive and they get to be up there. And hopefully, they will. I hope so. Because I like to see teams that compete. I like to see uh, things going well. Um, Now for the draft. And no, I'm not going to go off on the Dolphins like I did the other day on the phone because
You've come to your senses.
no,
I knew
I
that.
still, I,
I
you
gave
know
you a
me, oh,
chance,
too.
Gary. I gave you a chance.
Listen, we've been friends for how many years? I mean, you know me oh too well. Uh, what I don't like about the fact that they didn't even look at our guy.
Well, wait a minute. Of course they looked at him.
Now they said they didn't give him that much of a look. They didn't even give Mesidor that much of a look.
Okay. Still looked.
But I think Mesidor
Enough
has,
to not like it.
yeah, I think Mesidor has more of an upswing than oh God help me, my brain just went out to lunch.
Well, why don't you
Um,
add R to why don't you take the R out of brain and you'll have your answer.
I don't know. I bet my brain's not working right
Bane.
anyway. Bane,
Bane.
Bane, Bane.
Bane.
The
Try to
short
help you
arm
again.
thing thank you, dear. The short arm thing, I didn't buy. I still don't buy. Guys
Well,
on
they aren't
ESPN and
long.
no, but I don't buy that old argument any more than I buy the argument about, oh, well, he did a 4.5 in the 440 and this guy did a 4.2 in the 440. Okay, when was the last time a lineman ran 90 yards down the field? Yeah, Bane's
Well, I
pretty
agree with that.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, they really should come up with a way to measure that if they're so concerned about it in an environment that's realistic. That's why I don't pay much attention to the combine. I call it gym class. It's
Yeah,
just gym class. It's guys, throwing a ball around. It's a quarterback throwing a ball without a pocket collapsing, without having to run, without having to all of a sudden realize, oh man, my primary receiver's covered. Holy crap, what's my second option? And
yeah,
instead, he can throw it as far as he can throw it to a receiver who's not being covered, hasn't been checked at the line, hasn't,
mhm,
doesn't have to worry about coming over the middle and getting his ribs broken.
right,
It's gym class. It's literally gym class. You dress out, you go out there. There's a bunch of guys there. Some people can help themselves. That's fine. Some people can hurt themselves, and
yeah,
amazingly, it's covered on television. But look, if you want to do the short arm debate, number 4 pick in the draft last year is Will Campbell of the New England Patriots,
yeah,
LSU.
he
Worked
did
out
okay.
personally by our good. No, he didn't. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
No. No, well, yeah, I
Yeah,
watched the Super Bowl.
they ran him over. And what is
Oh,
one of
okay.
his problems?
Yeah.
Short arms. Now, his other problem was he had wrecked his knee and probably was not 100%. He
Uh-huh.
got hurt late in the year, came
Uh-huh.
back. But one of his biggest problems was he is a little alligator-ish or dinosaur-ish in the arms department. I like Bain a lot. I think that's going to be a smart pick for Tampa or whoever
Yeah.
was going to pick him. I'm hoping the best for Mesidor. Maui Goa going to the Giants was a very good pick. They were
Yes.
probably he was one of the 2 top tackles. The one, I think it's Doan, when before him, this absolute refrigerator of a human being from
Yeah.
Utah. And Maui Go is no small kid either. And so these guys, I hope will have nice, long, and healthy careers.
Yep.
So I that didn't offend me. I think everybody knows that Bain is the first round talent, and at least according to the people who do this for a living, that the Bucks got what's considered to be really good value for the pick. And if the
Exactly.
Dolphins didn't like him, then they're going to take who they like. And if they want some human tree with arms and legs, then they got one. And we'll
Yeah.
see if this guy is a pro quality player. He'll find out probably pretty fast.
I want to talk about something that you were just talking about that I thought, oh, that's interesting. Let's go there. Let's double back on it. One of the number one things that they say about quarterbacks coming out of college is in college football, when your wide receiver is open, he's open. You can throw a second late, and usually he's going to be open. In the NFL, you have a window about like that, okay? Well, about
Oh,
like
yeah.
that to throw it
Yeah.
through. And
Sure.
if you don't get that anticipation kind of thing working between you and the receivers and everything, and under the pressure of having defensive linemen and linebackers coming at you, that's something that takes a while to learn. Peyton Manning even talked about that once years ago. I saw it in him. They said, "What was the biggest problem?" He said, "Well, I worked it out in Tennessee a bit, but," he said, "the thing is you don't have a lot of room in the NFL to throw that ball and to get it in to your receiver." He said, "Once in a while, yeah, your receiver will be wide open. The defense blew a call. They blew they blew what they were doing, and
Yeah, they'll make a mistake. Sure. Yeah.
they somebody makes a mistake, somebody falls, whatever. But generally speaking, you don't have a lot of room in the NFL to throw the ball into, like a little alleyway." And that's what these guys all have to get used to, from Mendoza to Beck to the last guy that was picked. You got to be able to anticipate. You got to be able to have the ball going out of your hands before he even makes the cut, or before he jukes somebody and then goes straight down the field.
Well,
You've
that's
got
if
to
your
be able
play
to.
works. Yeah, if that's your first option.
Yeah,
And the other part about it is what happens when the first option is no longer an option. Then you
yeah,
have to go to a second, third, and sometimes even a fourth read, depending on your protection. If your protection is collapsed, can you move? Can you create?
yeah.
Or are you a statue? Or are you just, are you going to panic and make a poor throw? You might not see a defender because whatever. There's a lot of these things. And you're absolutely right. I can tell you from watching college ball that I can probably a couple of times a game, I say that throw didn't come out fast enough. Now, how many college quarterbacks are going to play in the NFL? Not many.
Not
I
many.
don't know how many totally were drafted or who will get signed for free agents, but it's not that many.
Yeah,
The quarterback position is not a very a great position of high employment. If each team
yeah,
has there are 32 teams and you have three quarterbacks, that's 32 times three. That's not even 100 jobs in the United States of professional quarterback in the NFL level. I'm not counting about the spring football leagues, the United Football, all that stuff. I'm talking about
yeah,
the Premier League. That's less than
right.
100 jobs it's a specialty. And
Yeah,
if you're not good enough, for the most part, and you might have been a hot shot in college. A name I mention a lot when this happens is Kyle Trask, who was a starter at Florida, and I believe he's still on the bench in Tampa and playing, not even playing behind Baker Mayfield. He's sitting behind Baker Mayfield. And this guy was at one time one of the better quarterbacks in the country and the college level. It is a
yeah,
very difficult jump to make, as you point out. So you roll the dice on that. In the case of Anthony Richardson, didn't work out. In the case of all these guys, the Raiders have been burned before with Jamarcus Russell, a physical marvel,
yep,
but not a guy who ended up having the dedication to play. And they found this out the hard way. But I don't think Mendoza is that kind of a kid. He's a big guy. He's a big body and he runs fairly well. This is where Carson Beck, I'm concerned about the problem I have with Carson Beck as far as the NFL level goes,
hmm,
is if he gets the chance to play, and they don't have Kyler Murray there anymore. So I wouldn't say the position is wide open, but he has a chance to at least earn the number 2 spot. I think Jacoby Brissett, who's like who's a plug and play guy. Apparently, he's a
yeah,
really good guy in the locker room. People love him, and
yeah,
he has worked for the Colts and he's worked for other teams where he's going to. He replaced Andrew Luck at one point. That's how long Brissett has been in the NFL. So
yeah.
he might be the number 1 guy at the moment, but he's not a guy who's going to take you to the playoffs. So,
No.
but my problem with Beck is all those scenarios, Gary, I just mentioned, I'm concerned that he can't do the one thing that is almost mandatory in the NFL and move. Because the other thing you didn't say, you talked about the speed of the game from the
Mhm.
offensive side. Well, the defense the people who
Oh,
are
yeah.
running at you. All these guys now, how many of these people are now called edge rushers that either we used to call outside linebackers or defensive ends? We almost never use the term defensive end anymore.
No, no.
Nowadays, of all the great old guys from the 60s and 70s that we grew up watching, the term edge rusher, they were helping in the run. They don't help in the run game as much. That's left to
No.
the middle. These guys are fast as hell. These guys are sometimes as fast as your running backs or some of your receivers.
Oh, yeah.
And they say that the biggest paychecks go to the quarterback and the guy who's chasing the quarterback. And
Yeah.
that's what he's going to have to come up against. And that's where I'm a little bit worried.
I want to talk about a quarterback who I think is going to be a bust out of Penn State, and I just don't think he's got it.
Well, we'll find out. I don't know if we're going to find out. Once again, the Steelers don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back. You have a new team, new coach, new everything. It's, up there, it's going to be a dramatic year because it's so rare for the Steelers to change coaches. And maybe they did need to move on, and that's fine. We'll get Tomlin on TV for a year, and then he could probably, if he wants to coach again, he can just, I'll go there. And
Yeah.
somebody will hire him.
Yeah.
Drew Aller had a disappointing year. Penn State had a disappointing year. Coach got fired. He got hurt. I'm always amazed at guys who somehow get their positions coming off of an injury that knocked them out of the season. And that was a pretty high pick. And I don't know whether the Steelers panicked when maybe they liked Beck better, and all of a sudden he's gone. And they're like, oh, geez, what if Aaron doesn't come back? I don't know. This kid's, it's the wrong side of Pennsylvania, but we'll take him anyway.
Yeah.
I was surprised at that. There were others. I mean, I was surprised that Garrett Nussmeier lasted as long as he did.
Yeah.
There was other people, considered higher, but nobody, Gary, none of these guys, not even Mendoza, are considered a sure thing as we've
No,
had
nobody
in the
is.
past. We've had some of those guys where you knew or you're pretty sure, you know what, give him a little time, and this guy's going to be great. And every once in a while you get a surprise. And every once in a while, a good surprise, not a bad one.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then, I just don't know.
I'd love to see the stats. I mean, they did give them out the other day of the first rounders that are around 5 or 6 years from now.
No,
Believe it
yeah,
or not,
yeah.
not a lot of them. It's
No.
it's the third, fourth, and fifth, and even sixth rounders that are the meat and potatoes, the heart and soul of your football team that make it what it is. These guys that in the second round, they probably could have been first rounders, but maybe they're just a step a little too slow. Maybe they got a nick or a ding or an operation on their legs or something, and so they're a little leery. Third rounders are pretty much in the same ballpark. Fourth and fifth rounders, these are the guys that really. I mean, yeah, my brother was drafted number 1, but I can think of
You might
how many.
want to tell everybody who that is. Not everybody's going to know that.
He played for the Baltimore Colts. His name was Mike Curtis. He was a running back out of Duke. That was what he got drafted as a running back, and he had some good years. Like Tom Matty once said, he had some good years. I know I watched those good years. And then Don Shula realized how mean and nasty he was and said, I think I'll switch him to the linebacker. And he became an outside linebacker, and the rest is history. And, of course, for some fan running on the field, he remembers my brother very well.
All right, so you got me looking. Oh, hang on a second. Let me go to your points. I opened up on my laptop here the 2025 draft.
Right.
Number 1 pick, Cam Ward, pardon me, played, struggled for a bad team.
Yes.
They gave him a first-round pick as a receiver, so the jury's still out on him. Then you have Travis Hunter, who came on a little bit late for Jacksonville. Will Campbell, going good. Ashton Genty with the Raiders has been okay so far, actually. The one guy who I really like, a Carolina receiver, Tetairoa McMillan, was the 8th pick. He was productive. Colston Loveland at the Bears, okay. Michael Williams, okay, in San Francisco. Tyler Warren with your Colts, a nice pick, 14th pick overall in the draft. I look at Cincinnati with Shamar Stewart, who was considered a reach and only had 1 sack last year as an edge rusher. And the funny thing is they drafted his running mate this year and everybody in the second round, and everybody is losing their minds over this guy. They say he's way better. So Omario Hampton, I believe, didn't he get hurt? No, Hampton was pretty good for San Diego. Excuse me, the LA Chargers. He was the 22nd player picked. Yeah. So not all of these guys are going to be immediate hits. You talked in the year before, Marvin Harrison Jr. was an early pick by Arizona.
Yeah.
Slow rookie year. Is that because of him, or is that because they had a quarterback who's this tall who can't see over defensive linemen? And by the way, why isn't one of the 3 Heisman finalists, Diego Pavia, drafted?
Yeah. No.
Because
he probably
he's
signed
this
as a free
tall.
agent. Wait a
He's
minute.
this
No, wait.
tall.
Didn't he go back?
The Ravens are giving him a free agent look.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, we got about I don't know. I got about
You
2
tell
minutes
me.
to go. You got about 2 minutes to go. Talk about your favorite draft pick of all, the guy who busted his foot up during the combine, and they still drafted him anyway, and he has bad feet to begin with.
Well, that's Caleb Banks of University of Florida, defensive lineman, a tackle, drafted in the first round by the Vikings, and he broke his foot at the combine. So that's not that long ago. No, I don't know how serious. I'm not a doctor, so I couldn't begin to tell you. It sounded like a bit of a reach pick to begin with.
Yeah.
And so what he did that turned on the Vikings so much that they would run that risk and pay him first round money, I don't know. They did draft another defensive lineman in the 3rd round out of Iowa State, Dominique Orange. But man, I don't know about that pick. It's a massive risk to draft anybody who's coming off of an injury in the 1st round. It just is. And you touched on it. There's other guys later, 3rd round. Okay, now you can take a run at this. You know what, this guy, okay, let's see. Because medicine's so much better than it used to be. Knee injury doesn't mean the end of your career anymore. But that to me was arguably the strangest pick of the 1st round. Because he wasn't considered the best player from Florida. They have others. I mean, even the Ty Simpson pick, you could make a little bit of sense out of, which I thought was strange. And by the way, if you all want some high comedy, go back and watch the press conference with Sean McVay when they asked him about Ty Simpson, because he clearly, at the time anyway, was not on board with that pick.
Absolutely.
He has the reigning MVP coming back. And they take the 13th pick in the draft, the 13th pick, and this is what they did with it. Maybe, again, somebody else is going to take him. Okay, we'll take him. Maybe he's going to be the next Jordan Love. He's going to sit for 4 years, or Aaron Rodgers is going to sit for 4 years and end up being good. I don't know. But it's a hell of a pick when you have 5 picks. That's all the Rams had, and that's what you do with it.
Dave, we have run out of time. Thank you so much. You're going to be back with us next month, I know. I think. Yeah, you are. And then you're going to be back. Yeah. All right. So until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us here. Dave LaMont, my brother from another mother, and one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world. And to all of you out there, please take care of yourselves. Watch after each other. God bless you. And may his grace always be with you. Take care.